Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. And thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this afternoon, we are going to look at the topic Traore rejects the West, Jamaica, Haiti, Barbados, and Guyana do the opposite. While Burkina Faso's young leader, Ibrahim Traoré, boldly rejects Western control and fights to protect his people's resources, Caribbean nations like Jamaica, Haiti, Barbados, and Guyana are still following a neoliberal model that enriches the elite while the masses suffer. In this powerful discussion, Fred Corbin and I will expose how Western influence continues to shape Caribbean politics, economics, and leadership, and why our leaders refuse to break free like Traore has. And I'm going to invite again Mr. Corbin, who is going to be explicating and telling us what is happening with regard to Mr. Traore. Are you here, Corbin? Mr. Corbin,
Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
good morning. How are you doing?
I'm
Yes, and
fantastic.
very good. So let me just give you, for those of you who are not aware, Mr. Corbin is with us. Those of you who are joining the program for the first time, Mr. Fred Corbin is with us. Yet another time to break down some of these complex and nuanced issues. Mr. Corbin, for those who are joining for the first time, is a native of Barbados. He's an engineer by training, by profession, political commentator, historian, podcaster, a brilliant and dynamic communicator, and an adept geopolitical analyst. Now, Mr. Corbin, do you have a podcast, and would you like to share where the my viewers can go to watch, to view, to listen to your podcast?
Yes, Andrew, and good morning to all of our audience. Thank you for joining the program this afternoon. I think the best place for our audience to listen to my podcasts would be on Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 246BajanVibesRadio.com. You can log on to that website. That is 246BajanVibesRadio.com. And you can listen to my podcast every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Now, Fred, it doesn't sound like your sound system is as powerful as it used to be. I'm hearing you, but not as clearly.
You want to, shall I speak a little bit louder then?
Well, okay, well, yes, I think yeah, it's a bit better there. Yeah, it's a better there because you're always powerful when you speak and people listen, and that's why many people the last time tuned in and they were so impressed with the knowledge that you shared with them. So, Mr. Corbin, Fred, we are going to look at the topic this morning that the Traore rejects the West, Jamaica, Haiti, Barbados, and Guyana do the opposite. Now, my first question to you, Fred, is who is Ibrahim Traore? Would you tell, or and is he a democratic leader or a military dictator? What would you say?
Well, let's deal with the second half of the question first. Ibrahim Traoré is definitely not a dictator.
Yes.
He has assumed power by military means because that was the only avenue left to by revolution in order to overthrow a corrupt French puppet state that had destroyed Burkina Faso and had left its people in a hopeless state of affairs. To address the first half of the question, Ibrahim Traore is a young military commander that has probably one of the most extensive training backgrounds with the French military, as well as African regimes, and has, instead of utilizing his military expertise for military hunter purposes, he's actually taken that discipline and expertise and translated that into a dynamic leadership role that has completely revolutionized the vision of Burkina Faso and instilled hope and confidence and an entire different paradigm of progressive attitudes in the people of Burkina Faso.
Mhm.
And for someone as young as he is, 38 years old, to be able to do that in 3 years is nothing short of miraculous.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, now, given the nature of our undemocratic states within the Caribbean, do you or do we need a military dictator to put back things in order and to ward off the onslaught and machinations of US hegemony?
I would say that I don't think that we need a military dictatorship, but Barbados has just become that. Yesterday, in my podcast, I outlined to the public that on on Friday, August 8th, 2025,
Hello? We have lost Mr. Corbin there. Not sure what is happening, if there is anything with on his side that might be affecting the show. We'll wait until. So while we're waiting on him, we're speaking on the fact. So I'm very sorry. Yeah, it's on my side. Yeah, so let me repeat the question. We were asking the question. Sorry, my internet connection went berserk. Now, we were asking the question if we do need a military dictator to put back things in order and to ward off onslaught and machinations of US hegemony. And Fred, you were saying that Barbados is already a dictatorship, a military dictatorship, and you were saying that on August 8th. Could you continue?
on August 8th, 2025, which was this last Friday, the Attorney General announced to the world via a parliamentary declaration that Barbados was introducing a Communications Interception Act and then empowering the military to carry out arrests against the civilian population of the nation.
Wow.
The country has descended into a totalitarian surveillance militarized police state.
Mhm.
Barbados has just entered the failed state avenue of Caribbean countries following Haiti.
Wow, that's a strong statement to make against a state that was so progressive as Barbados. Now, why are so many Caribbean citizens so enamored by and deeply in awe of Traore? Is he not just another Michael Manley of Jamaica, Maurice Bishop of Grenada, Forbes Burnham of Guyana, et al., who challenged US hegemonic power in the region and wound up losing? Should we risk the stability of our countries and possibly end up like the war-ravaged and torn Middle Eastern and African countries like Syria, Yemen, Libya, etc.?
Well, first of all, we have to look at the history of Burkina Faso and its evolution to where it is today.
Mhm.
The ability of the French to populate Africa and to colonize Africa and disable the languages, the indigenous languages, and the traditions and so on of Africa have led to the decisions being taken by three Central African nations that we are currently discussing, and that is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
Yes.
And if we look at these three countries strategically, the the actions that they have taken in kicking the West and particularly the French out of their nations is not only driven by an deep-rooted assault on the West African people themselves,
Mhm.
but also a complete disenfranchisement of the progressive, resource-rich nations
Yes.
of that group. And the progress that we can take and the lessons that we can take from the what's now become the Sahel Alliance with
Yes.
Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, and now Liberia also subscribing to that, and Guinea, as well as Angola.
Mhm.
And we see Africa taking the stance against the machinations of the West that have been there for over 200 years, and
Mhm.
now putting the line in the sand. This is where we are. You're on one side, and we're now progressing on the other side. The reason that the Caribbean region and the people of the Caribbean region can relate to this is because of our African ancestry. And we
Yes.
are also experiencing a microcosm of that in each one of our individual territories,
Mhm.
particularly Barbados, which is a captured state, which has been a captured state since its inception. Okay, Barbados was settled by Freemasons, and the entire system of the plantocracy the plantocracy system and the slave codes were written here in Barbados and enacted in our parliament in 1666.
Yeah.
So we have been experiencing and have been under the captured control of the colonial imperial powers, just like Africa has. Africa has taken the step now to release themselves from that and using the opportunity to use the military training and the military juntas that were installed in the country to empower their people because they can now defend themselves. Whereas here in the Caribbean region, we have no ability to defend ourselves. But we need strong, democratic, righteously minded individuals to take power in the Caribbean region in every single territory and to take a stand against the colonial imperial disenfranchisement of our people. And that has to happen.
Now, let's look back at the Haitian Revolution and the fact that Toussaint Louverture, who believed in the democratic process and who's a man who was a great statesman. However, he recognized that he could not have fought the French, fought off the onslaught of the French and the Spanish and the British by being a democratic leader. He had to take on that warrior-like, that military-like persona leadership so that he could fight them because they were aggressive. Do we need that sort of aggression, that aggressive military leadership pattern and fervor, the likes of Toussaint Louverture?
Absolutely. And it has to happen in Barbados first because we have just taken the step where we cannot comply our way out of the tyranny that has just been laid upon us.
Yes.
The
Yes.
further tyranny that has been laid upon Barbados, the people of Barbados cannot comply their way out of tyranny. And as I said in my podcast yesterday, every single righteously minded Barbadian has to decide whether they're going to comply with tyranny and suffer the consequences of becoming slaves to a totalitarian surveillance police state or stand up and take the fight to the enemy. And that's precisely what we have to do. And if it comes to the point where we have to pick up arms against the administration, then so be it.
Yes. Because freedom comes at a cost. That's for
Precisely.
sure. That's
Precisely.
go ahead, Fred.
I don't advocate for anything of that nature. God forbid that we would have to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we have to understand that war is a failure of politics.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to defending the future of our young children and every single young person in this country that has to take Barbados forward for a progressive future,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to take the right action.
Yes, and I'm just suggesting here, piggybacking on what you're saying, that in the same way that Toussaint Louverture did not endorse violence, for those of you who do not know the Haitian history, he was perhaps more, and he was softer than the likes of Jacques Dessalines. Jacques Dessalines was a guy who would give you it, he would fight, and he didn't believe if he had to be violent, he was going to be violent. But the fact is that Toussaint understood that if he were going to win the battle, he had to fight, and that's what he did, wage a war against them, and which Haiti eventually won. Now, is there any evidence, Mr. Corbin, to your knowledge, that the CIA might have trained Traore for his distinct role as as a leader? You say that he's not a military dictator, but he's a leader. Now, we have to say that Traore is operating a military government. Wouldn't you say that it's a military government? Because, he is or was a military leader. Wouldn't you say that the government that Traore is presiding over is a military government?
I wouldn't say that at all.
You would not say that at
Not
all.
the case. That's not the case. What is
Okay.
happening is that the one of the reasons why he was so successful in being able to seize power is that he formed a parallel parliament
Yes.
to the existing um, to the existing government that was there,
Hmm.
and then he used military means to seize power.
Hmm.
I do not categorize Traore as a military leader. I categorize him as a military man
Yes.
using his position as president of the country in order to ensure that the parliamentary system of his prime minister and the members of parliament is
Hmm.
accurately and progressively put in place for the people of the country. That is not a military dictatorship.
Yes. Yes. Now, is there any evidence to your knowledge that the CIA might have trained Traore for his distinct role as? a leader? And
I
could
have
he just be playing the role of controlled opposition?
I have absolutely no evidence to prove that, but
Mhm.
having visited Burkina Faso before,
Yes.
I understood that I did see evidence of the fact that the CIA and the French and British MI6 were very active in the country simply because they wanted to destabilize the Sahel region because of its natural resources. And MI6, the CIA, the Mossad, and the French intelligence services were very active on the ground, preparing the Burkina Faso for a 10-year military occupation by the French in order to be able to promote ISIS and Al Qaeda Africa within Burkina Faso's northern borders.
Hmm.
That was very, very evident. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether the CIA did have contact with Ibrahim Traoré and whether he did receive any training, I have absolutely no evidence of that, and I
Yes.
don't think that we can accurately say that that is the case because
Yes.
he himself
Hmm.
has spoken very, very clearly and very calmly on this particular issue, where he has rejected any notion of the fact that military training by outside entities of Burkina Faso's involvement with the French has taken place.
Hmm. Could you share some of your experience that you had in Burkina Faso? You said you visited it thrice or three
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
So could you share some
three
of your
times.
experiences there?
Well, first of all, they, for persons who don't know Burkina Faso is a landlocked nation. It's surrounded by Niger, uh, Mali, and Ghana on the three sides. It's a 10 province, the country divided into 10 provinces, and Ouagadougou is the capital city. And most of the highways and roads that are in the country emanate from that center. So the French were very strategic in the way that they positioned Ouagadougou in the middle of the country with
Hmm.
roads going north, south, east, and west from it, and then other cities from there. And as you drive west back towards the Mali Guinea border, you get into a very karst type of landscape, which is low rolling hills and so on. But this is where most of a lot of the gold mines and other mining activities go on. We have to remember that Burkina Faso has 21 gold mines in the country.
Mm.
And in the experiences there, my interactions with the people
Hmm.
are, they're extremely interested in knowing who you are. They
Yes.
want to know where you're from and what you're
Yes.
doing there and so on. But
Yes.
one of the most enlightening things for me was their absolute honesty with telling us why they're doing what they're doing. A very simple conversation I had through an interpreter because I don't speak French,
Yes.
and I asked a vendor at the side of the road, how do you make a living from selling your fruits and vegetables and so on that you're doing? She
Hmm.
said, then she said to me, she said, God will always provide.
Hmm.
Just that simple.
Yes.
So
Yes.
an understanding of the spiritual power of the people,
Yes.
and you have an understanding that wherever we went, whether it was in the east or the north of the country and so on, as you go further east into Burkina Faso, you're
Mhm.
starting to get into the wetlands and so on, because a lot of the tributaries from the River Niger, which circumnavigates the northern and eastern boundaries of Burkina Faso, a lot of
Mhm.
the tributaries in Burkina Faso are actually fed by underground aquifers from the Niger River.
Mhm.
And as you get into that area and so on, you start to get more farming and a tremendous amount of interaction with people who are farming. And they will actually come to you and give you baskets of food.
Wow.
This is for you.
Yes.
We had that experience. This
Yes.
is for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Because, we've never seen you before. They heard me speaking English and they realized that my accent was not European. Okay, and where are you from? Where are you from? They didn't know about the Caribbean or Barbados, and
Yes.
I was given baskets of food.
I was thinking that they might have thought that you were American and
Yeah,
perhaps thought that you're an agent of the CIA, especially in light of what is happening there. Do
yeah,
you think?
but Yeah, well, that could be the case, but because we were moving around in civilian vehicles and so on, doing
Yes,
different surveys and so on for hydrology and other things like that, they
yes.
recognized that we were just consultants and so on and operating with, in concert with Burkinabe companies. But at the end of the day, the people were the most impressive in that country. I was gifted everywhere I went.
In terms of the
Everywhere
Caribbean,
I went.
yeah, in terms of the Caribbean, and you've been throughout the Caribbean region, what connections do you see between Burkina Faso and the peoples of the Caribbean region?
Well, there's one country in the Caribbean that very closely resembles Burkina Faso as far as spiritual energy is concerned, and that is Jamaica.
Wow. Yes,
Jamaica is in my honest opinion, is an energy portal. The portal or the energy that exists in the Jamaican people and the Jamaican homeland, as it were,
yes,
very closely mirrors that energy that you see in Burkina Faso and in some certain parts of West Africa. Now,
yes,
I've seen the same thing in northern Ghana. Okay. But at the end of the day, you have an energy in Jamaica
yes.
that is unmatched anywhere else in the Caribbean region.
Yes, yes, yes. That's very interesting. And that is why perhaps many of the Rastafarians were out in their numbers and they were, vouching for Traore, for Ibrahim Traore. Now,
Yeah.
people of African descent, Fred, of which the Caribbean region form a part, yearn for political saviors to deliver us from the agony of US imperialism. We have seen the likes of Barack Hussein Obama of the United States, who mesmerized African Americans with his soaring rhetoric, yet delivered nothing of value and substance to the African American community and other predominantly Black nations in the Caribbean and Africa. Mia Mottley of Barbados, who is the de facto liberator of the Caribbean. I say, and I use liberator in quotations. Yet Barbadians seem to be uncomfortable and unhappy with what many there describe as her dictatorial policies. Should we see Traore as just another deceptive Black leader who is working for the corrupt system, but who is wearing the garb of political deception?
No, and I'll
Yes.
tell you the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a young African leader take the stance
Mm-hmm.
of resistance that he has,
Mm-hmm.
very calmly, no fanfare,
Mm-hmm.
no personal self-aggrandizement in his attitude,
Yeah.
but strategic initiatives that have been put in place with economic development and cooperative agreements with China, Russia, other states, and focusing on two very important things only: agriculture and industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because he recognizes that given Burkina Faso's landlocked capability or landlocked geography,
Yes.
is that he has the opportunity not to be someone who is out there front and center of anything and talking big and getting things going with regard to a popularity contest. What
Mm-hmm.
he is doing, the evidence proves that here is a man that understands precisely where he wants his country to go and the future of his people to be
Mm-hmm.
in the next 50 years. And
Mm-hmm.
the way he has gone about that has been using the opportunities to sign economic and development cooperative agreements with the countries that can best facilitate the three most important things for the country.
Mm-hmm.
And that is agriculture and industry. And then taking the step of nationalizing the industries that best contribute to the GDP earning power of his people.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot to learn in the Caribbean region from this man.
Yes.
And I said in my podcast yesterday, we need to take a page out of Ibrahim Traoré's book and apply it to the Caribbean region. We have the polar opposite here in Barbados and the Caribbean region, where we have the Prime Minister of Barbados who has spent the last 4 years charging around the world, misrepresenting the reality of Caribbean geopolitics to the world,
Mm-hmm.
talking a whole bunch of garbage on the climate crisis, which means absolutely nothing,
Nothing. Mm-hmm.
embezzling funds from all contributors that she can get her hands on, and
Mm-hmm.
delivering absolutely nothing for the people of Barbados or the Eastern Caribbean region.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, here in the Caribbean, everybody thinks that this woman is a god.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we have a despot now taking charge of a country leading it into a totalitarian surveillance police state, to which the only solution is revolution.
Yeah, but and that is what I would like to say, that you mentioned that, Traore and his people are anti-US imperialism. And in the Caribbean, we tend to be enamored by what we're seeing there. But are we suffering from a split personality syndrome, that at one point we see ourselves supporting Amir Motley and Andrew Holness and the other leaders in the Caribbean, yet we want to serve and to celebrate this strong African leader? How can we have our cake and eat it at the same time? We can't have both worlds. We can't be celebrating the IMF and the World Bank, yet still we are celebrating what Ibrahim Traoré is doing in his country. How do
Well,
you
we have
explain that?
we have to recognize that Caribbean people are historically admirers of great statesmen and people who take action. But
Yes,
when it comes to the fact the Caribbean people are saying, yes, 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 this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do, until the day arrives that action needs to be taken. And then all of a sudden you look behind you and the road is empty.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No one. Everybody will find all the excuses in the world. Oh, my mother died last week, or I gotta take my sheep to market, and so on. You think that they're gonna turn up for you? Nope, not gonna happen. We in the Caribbean have been so socially conditioned by the British colonial imperial system. We will stand in the background and we will shout the praises of everyone who is taking action.
Yes.
Yay! And when it
Yes.
comes time to actually stand in the street and be counted among those who are taking the action to the enemy,
Mhm.
crickets.
Yeah. No, and don't we have a Burkina Faso in the region in the form of Haiti? Haiti, our great liberator. They have been fighting. We must give them that credit, that they
Absolutely.
have been fighting tooth and nail forever. We saw what happened during the prime minister, the presidency of what's his name again? The one that was in power was deposed by the US in 2004. That was John Bertrand Aristide. Now, what did we do in the Caribbean? We were silent on the matter, except for Jamaica to an extent, in the government of PJ Patterson. But you didn't hear anything from Barbados, from Trinidad. You didn't hear anything from the other Caribbean islands in terms of supporting what Haiti was doing and the fact that they wanted Jean Bertrand Aristide to continue his progressive policies. What do you say on that?
Well, we have to understand that John Bertrand Aristide was a prepared political individual,
Yes.
and he was prepared by the US administration. And when he didn't toe the line, he was removed. Do you really think that the rest of the Caribbean region, who is under the hegemony and control of the United States in almost every single way with regard to its economic future, is going to resist a decision taken by the United States State Department to remove someone that they prepared?
But we found that the same thing happened to Jamaica after years afterwards, when our president or prime minister was ceremoniously removed from office. Hillary
There you
Clinton
go.
went and she removed him. So if we don't stand up today, then it's going to happen to us tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened to Jamaica in 2010.
Yes, exactly. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is this. If we think that we cannot be the next on the list
Mhm.
for removal, we have another thought coming. The way to do this is that you have to have the ability to put policies in place and frameworks in place that are self-sustaining,
Yes.
but also powerful enough to ensure that your economic survivability and your stability cannot be impeded
Yes.
should something like that take place.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at Haiti, we know that Haiti is controlled from outside of its borders.
Yes.
The elite oligarchs that
Hmm.
control Haiti, they empower everything within the country.
Yes.
The population is a captured entity struggling for basic survival. And anyone who rises up against that will be taken out by a rival gang, by another oligarch.
Hmm.
The oligarchs all know who each other are, but they have their territories. If you decide that you're going to toe the line somewhere else, they will just empower everybody else against you. So it's a dog eat dog situation. That's the reason that Haiti is in the position it's in. But when you have the oligarchs that are controlling Haiti from the outside, you remove them, and Haiti will return to a progressive state, simply because all it needs is the correct leadership to be on the ground to
Right.
empower the people to access the natural resources. And Haiti is one of the most resource-rich nations in the Northern Caribbean. It has abundance of oil and gas sitting right beneath its feet. It has gold, it has iridium, it has copper, it has bauxite, you name it. Okay. At the end of the day, I don't think that I think one of the only things that Haiti does not have is diamonds. And I may
Yes.
be wrong, and I may be
Yes.
completely wrong. But
Yes.
the most important thing is this. You take away the control mechanism from outside of Haiti, and Haiti has an opportunity to become a progressive society once again. And the reason I can say that is on the exact same landmass, you have wealth and prosperity in the Dominican Republic. Why not
Yes.
Haiti?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, we know that you have to exploit one to be able to, for the other to prosper. And that's exactly what is happening with the relationship between the DR and Haiti,
Yeah,
that they're exploiting because Haiti produces nothing, so the DR has to supply them with everything. What if they were not supplying them with everything like rice from soap, whatever? Then the DR economy would not have been that prosperous,
precisely.
you
No, at
know?
the end of the day, you have to understand is that the oligarchs that control Haiti also own part of the DR.
They do. They do. And
Exactly.
they have a lot of properties here. Absolutely.
Precisely. Yep. The
They
entire tourism industry of the Dominican Republic is owned by them.
You're correct. You're correct. You are correct, 100% correct. Now, there is something else also with that we can't end the program without talking about what is happening in Venezuela, and the fact that that Trump. Well, we know that it was during his first administration that he had a bounty on Maduro's head, and then Biden came into power, and he too continued that policy, and now Trump has returned to power. What do you think about the fact that the U.S. is having this $50 million bounty on capturing the president and accusing him of being in alignment and with with criminals, with gangs?
Well, this is notional propaganda.
Yes.
And the reason that I say this is that the the geopolitical image that you project when you put a bounty on someone's head is that everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's going to be," and so on and so forth. And this is precisely the effect you want to create. You put the fear of God into people and so on and so
Yes.
forth. When really and truly, when you look at the actual facts, the United States of America has a dismal track record of collecting any bounties.
Correct.
In addition to that, it has one of the most horrendous double standards in the entire world.
Hmm.
Because, as I said in my podcast yesterday, the Mohammed Giuliani, who is now the head of the government of Syria,
Hmm.
he still has a $15 million bounty on his head on the FBI website. But
Mm.
yet President Trump is shaking hands with this guy and say, "Oh, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's no longer a terrorist, but he still has a $15 million bounty on his head." So why didn't Trump collect the bounty right then and there?
Yes.
You see, so at the end of the day, Nicolas Maduro is actually in a position of power because he
Yes.
can say, "Well, there's a bounty on my head, but I have evidence to prove that the United States administration under the Biden government deliberately orchestrated a proxy funding and promotion of a criminal gang from within Venezuela against Caribbean nations in Trinidad and Tobago." And we saw the destruction that took place in Trinidad and Tobago. And the Prime Minister of Barbados was one of the architects of that.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, for all peoples of African descent, Fred, in the Americas, the Caribbean included, Africa seems to be the center of Western resistance, pushback, and freedom. Yet AFRICOM controls the African continent. For those who are not aware, AFRICOM is the U.S. military's geographic combatant command responsible for U.S. defense operations and security corporations of the African continent. How do you think we are going to fight back against this gigantic military operation in Africa?
Well, I just want to make one correction there is that AFRICOM is no longer in Africa.
AFRICOM is no longer in Africa?
The center of African Command was actually in Niger.
Oh,
They built a $700 million base in Niger, and the Nigerian army kicked them out. So
wow.
now they've had to go all the way east to Djibouti. So
Mm,
really and truly, Africa CENTCOM is now one quarter of the size it used to be, and it's located in a small little location in Djibouti. And
yes.
the other are U.S. bases that are smaller, that are
Mhm.
located in other African countries, are basically now at a logistics disadvantage because you can only service them from Djibouti.
Yes.
And the Nigerian government has taken over the military base that was there and has now turned it to the advantage of creating security for the Sahel Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So Africa CENTCOM is on the back foot in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you look at the large military base in Bahrain and you look at Djibouti, and Africa CENTCOM now has to operate in Djibouti, taking control of the the Red Sea
Mm-hmm.
and the Bab al Mandab Strait through Yemen,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing a very, very poor job of it. Donald Trump had to tuck his tail between his legs and retreat after the Yemeni military started to attack his aircraft carriers and as well as the commercial shipping and so on and so forth. Now, he dropped a couple of bombs on Yemen and so on, but had absolutely no effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yemen is still there and still fighting
Yes.
and will continue to fight simply because you cannot remove the strategic geographical location of Yemen, which sits at the mouth of the Red Sea and the Bab al-Mandab Strait. Okay?
Yes.
Because that is the trade route going to the Suez Canal and Egypt.
Yes.
And the minute that the Yemeni military decides to close the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the global economy goes into a tailspin.
Yes. Yes. Now, Fred, what you say in 2 minutes now, to the resource-rich countries of Haiti, Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, Barbados, and all of the Caribbean countries, what would you offer to our political leaders, or advice, that is, to our political leaders with regard to the management of our natural resources? Unfortunately, Haiti doesn't have a functioning government. What would be your advice to our neoliberal governments?
Well, first of all, drop neoliberalism and become more affiliated with righteously minded MPH ideology, which is meritocracy, practicality, and honesty. Because I can't give advice to someone who has absolutely no intention of putting legislation in place that controls the corruption of its political entities and has no interest in providing an honest, practical approach for the progression of its country.
Mm-hmm.
You can't speak to anybody within a government administration that is going to turn the country into a police state because they want to listen to telephone calls of the population. So
Yes.
there's no advice I can give to people like that. All I can say is drop the neoliberalism and implement the MPH protocol, which is meritocracy, practicality, and honesty.
Yes.
Things will get a lot better after that.
Would you like to come back on the show another time? Not sure if you're busy this week to talk about what is happening in Barbados, because I think that is, if I think Barbados is going to be used as the example for what is ahead of us as Caribbean
Oh,
citizens.
absolutely. I would be very happy to come back and outline that and so on. And I will send you some information to prepare you for what we're going to talk about. You just let me know when and where.
Yes, and we will talk behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Fred, for joining us another time.
You're
It was
welcome.
a great conversation.
Have a good afternoon.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we have listened to Mr. Corbin again, and he has given us a very interesting perspective of what is happening in Africa and in the region. And we have to thank him for giving us his astute understanding of the geopolitics, the world of geopolitics. Now, I thank you so much for joining, and I hope that you'd like, share, and subscribe. And I encourage as much as our young people as possible to subscribe because you are the agent of change. So I am asking you, I'm pleading with you to subscribe and to become a part of the program. And I would also like for those of you who are willing to come and talk on our program to share your ideas, I open the floor to you. Wherever you're coming from, let me know what problems you might be going through. Thank you so much. All the best. Bye-bye.